I love children's books. Stories for children that have meaning for adults. Classic wisdom for us. And one of my favorites is The Little Prince. A story of a little boy who lives on a lonely planet and learns to love through his encounter with a fox and a rose. And here's one of my favorite passages when the little boy is ready to leave the planet and goes back to the fox to say goodbye. And here's what the fox says to him. "Goodbye," said the fox, "and now here's my secret, a very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." What is invisible is essential to the eye, and only with the heart that one can see rightly. The gospel today continues the spiritual questions that we've been listening to throughout the month of October. Last Sunday we heard Jesus ask, "What do you want?" And today we hear a very similar question, but it's more pointed at a blind man named Bartimaeus. And Jesus says, "What do you want me to do for you?" Think about that for our own lives. What do we want Jesus to do for us? In this particular passage in Mark, in the Gospel of Mark, Jesus is leaving Jericho and is on his way to Jerusalem. And he encounters a blind man named Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, meaning son of the unclean. Now, unclean meant a death sentence. You're outcast from the community. You are standing at the edge of society on the side of the road, and you are left to beg and survive for your life. And on top of that, this man is blind. He's never seen Jesus, but he must have heard that the Messiah was close by. So he does everything he can to call out, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me. Listen to me." People try to stop him, try to shut him up. The disciples say, "Jesus, don't bother with that guy. He's an outcast." But Jesus kind of sees through the crowd and through his disciples and says, "Call the man over." And so Bartimaeus immediately gets up. He takes off his cloak. His whole sense of security that collected alms for the poor, that kept him warm, that helped him survive in the midst of being an outcast. He lets it all go. And he goes up to Jesus, and Jesus asks him that question. "What do you want me to do for you?" And he says, "I want to see." Not only in the physical sense, but seeing with the heart. And Jesus says, yes, and restores him, his sight and himself, that man, to wholeness. He is restored back into community. So much so that he becomes a disciple. The gospel ends with immediately he received his sight and he followed Jesus on the way. He became a follower. The twist in all of this is the disciples have been with Jesus all along and they've been struggling to get it. They have been totally blind sometimes, totally clueless of what all this means. And here is a total outcast who sees rightly with the heart and can see who Jesus is and says, yes, I want to follow you. I want to see. And his sight is restored. The disciples take a little bit longer. So this week, let us hear Christ ask us, what do you want? And listen more closely when Jesus asks us this question, what do you want me to do for you? What is the heart of the matter for you? What is at the depth of who you are, the depth of your soul? What do you want deep within? And how will we respond to serve the world in love? Because like that little prince, it is only with the heart that we can see rightly, that we can live in right relationships with one another. It is only with that heart of love that we can see and have faith in the one who calls us to love that we can cast aside everything to follow Jesus in love. What do you want Christ to do for you? Amen.